I think Lincoln somehow managed to articulate or to epitomize some basic values of Northern society as they developed in the period 1830s, 40s, 50s. Historians call this the period of the market revolution. It's a period of tremendous economic growth, transportation improvements, real commercial development of Northern society. But it's still not the industrialized, large modern capitalist society of the late 19th or 20th centuries. It's still a society of small-scale enterprise. Most manufacturing is done in little shops. Most people are still farmers on their own land. And Lincoln somehow articulates what I call in my book the free labor ideology. That is the ideology of a society which values labor, in which the key quality of Northern society seems to be the ability of someone through hard work and diligence to move up from starting out poor perhaps, or as a wage laborer, eventually getting into the position of owning your own shop, owning your own land, economic independence. And to Lincoln, this free labor ethos, the ability to rise in the social scale, is what distinguishes Northern society from Southern society. Slave society locks people in place. Obviously, it locks the slaves in place. They do not have the opportunity to improve their condition in life. But even poorer whites in the South, he says, have no opportunity the way poor people like himself do in the North. And so this free labor idea really comes to symbolize the difference between free society and slave society. And in articulating that, Lincoln is drawing on very deeply held values in Northern society. Well, many pro-slavery writers at this period, John C. Calhoun, George Fitzhugh, Senator Hammond of South Carolina, they argue that the free labor idea is a myth, that in fact large numbers of workers in the North they use the term wage slaves. They are locked to the poor immigrants in the East who work in factories, or unemployed people in cities. They say this is a myth that the average man can move up. In fact, the slave, they argue, is better off in a way, because the slave can't be unemployed. The slave is cared for in old age. The slave knows where his next meal is coming from. It's better, they say, to be the slave of an individual master than the slave of the impersonal marketplace. So they say that large numbers of poor Northerners are actually not beneficiaries of this free labor idea. Lincoln reads these writings. He's very disturbed by them. He reads Fitzhugh. And he, if you read his speeches in the 1850s when he's talking about slavery, he refers to them. And he says, these people have the wrong idea. They are completely mistaken about Northern society. This is not the way Northern society is. Over and over he says the poor, penniless beginner can rise in Northern society. So this argument about what is the social status of Northern society becomes a very important part of the slavery debate.